Good night, this is Fumi Sleepy Time Stories. Tonight's bedtime story is about to begin. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom called the Dreamland Kingdom. The king of Dreamland had several daughters, each one extraordinarily beautiful. Among them, his youngest daughter was the most breathtaking of all. Even the well-traveled sun, whenever it shone upon her face, couldn't help but marvel at her beauty. Near the king's palace lay a vast forest. Within this forest, there was a bottomless pond. When summer arrived, the little princess often came to this forest, sitting by the cool pond to rest. Whenever she felt bored, she would take out a golden ball from her small pouch. The golden ball was a birthday gift from the king, and the little princess cherished it deeply. She would toss the golden ball into the air and catch it repeatedly. This became her favorite game. One afternoon, the little princess arrived at the pond as usual. She began tossing and catching the golden ball, but this time, although she stretched out her hand to catch it, the ball slipped past her fingers, fell to the ground, and quickly rolled into the pond. It all happened so suddenly that the princess froze, staring blankly as the golden ball slowly sank into the depths of the water. Since the pond was bottomless, by the time she snapped back to her senses, the golden ball had completely disappeared. Feeling anxious but helpless, the little princess burst into tears. Her sobs grew louder and louder, filled with sorrow as she cried. She suddenly heard a voice speaking. "Oh, dear princess, what has happened? To you, if you cry like this, even the stones would feel heartbroken." The little princess stopped crying and looked around, trying to find the source of the voice. She wondered, this is the royal forest, no, strangers should be able to enter. Who could it be? Over here, I'm right here," the voice said. Looking down, the little princess saw a frog peeking out of the water, its large round eyes gazing up at her. "So it's you, little frog," the princess said. "My golden ball fell into the water, and I can't retrieve it," thinking about her lost treasure. The princess felt like crying again. "All right, don't cry," the little frog quickly comforted her. Upon seeing her tears welling up again, "I can help you. But if I retrieve your golden ball, how will you repay me?" "Dear little frog, you may ask for anything you like," the princess replied. "My clothes, my pearls, and jewels, even the golden crown on my head, I will give them all to you, as long as you help me get my golden ball back." But the little frog said, "I do not want your clothes, pearls, or jewels, nor do I desire your golden crown. I wish to be your friend. I want to play with you, sit beside you at the dining table, eat from your golden plate, drink from your fine goblet. At night, I wish to sleep in your bed. If you promise me this, I will immediately retrieve your golden ball." "Really?" the princess was overjoyed. "As long as you bring my golden ball back, I will agree to anything you ask." Although the princess agreed aloud, she secretly dismissed the frog's words. "It's just a frog. Does it really think it can negotiate with me? It belongs in the water, croaking with other frogs. How could it possibly befriend a person?" After receiving the princess's promise, the little frog immediately dived into the water. Before long, it surfaced with the golden ball in its mouth and spat it onto the grass. The princess was overjoyed to see her beloved toy again. She quickly picked up the golden ball, turned around and completely forgot about the frog, leaving without a second thought. Wait, wait. The little frog shouted as it saw the princess running off without fulfilling her promise. Take me with you. I can't keep up with your steps. No matter how much the frog called after her, the princess ignored it entirely, running straight back to the palace and forgetting all about the frog, unable to catch up. The little frog had no choice but to return to the pond. The next day at noon, the princess sat down for lunch with the king and her sisters. The servants entered in an orderly manner, pouring water, preparing hand-washing basins, and serving food. Afterward, they began their mealtime prayers, giving thanks for the meal before them. Just as they were about to eat, a sudden plop, plop, plop sound echoed through the hall. It was the sound of something hopping up the marble steps. When the sound reached the door, it stopped. Then came a knock and a loud voice calling out, "Princess, open the door, it's me." Hearing the voice, the princess hesitantly walked to the door, wondering who could be calling for her. She opened the door, and there stood the little frog from the day before. The sight of the frog instantly brought back the memories of yesterday, and she slammed the door shut, rushing back to her seat. She tried to appear calm, but inside she was terrified. The king noticed his daughter's unease and asked, "My child, what's wrong? Who is at the door?" After a brief hesitation, the princess replied, "It's an annoying little frog." "A frog? And what does it want with you?" the king inquired. "Well, yesterday I was playing in the forest. While playing, my golden ball accidentally fell into the water. I was so upset that I cried, and the frog helped me retrieve it." The princess recounted. "Oh, if it helped you, why do you call it annoying?" the king asked. The princess reluctantly admitted, "The frog asked me to be its friend. I casually agreed, not thinking it would take it seriously, but now it's followed me here." Knock, knock, knock. The knocking came again, followed by a loud voice. "Princess, open the door. Your friend has arrived. Open the door. Have you forgotten? By the pond yesterday, you made a promise to me." After hearing this, the king said to his daughter, "I have always taught you that one must never break a promise. Go and open the door for it." Unwillingly, the princess obeyed. The little frog hopped inside, followed her to the dining table, and said loudly, "I want to sit beside you. Pick me up." Hearing this request, the princess trembled with fear. She was most afraid of wet, slimy creatures. But the king ordered her to do as the frog said. The frog was placed on the table and asked, "Please move your golden plate closer. That way, we can eat together." Clearly reluctant, the princess pushed her plate toward it. The frog ate heartily, while the princess had completely lost her appetite. Finally, the frog said, "I am full. Now I am tired. Please carry me to your bedroom, for I wish to sleep in your soft bed." The princess shuddered at the thought of the cold, slimy frog on her bed. She immediately burst into tears. Seeing her reaction, the king scolded, "Anyone who helps us in times of trouble should never be treated with disrespect, no matter who they are." With no other choice, the princess used a handkerchief to pick up the frog and carried it upstairs. Once in her room, she casually placed the frog in a corner. Then she rang a bell, summoning her maids to prepare her bath and night clothes. Wanting to avoid sharing her bed with the frog, she deliberately took extra time bathing. After she finally lay down in bed, she thought the frog might have given up and left. But suddenly, its voice came from beneath the bed. "I'm tired. I want to sleep in bed too. Carry me up, or I will tell your father." The princess, thinking the frog was gone, was so startled that her fear turned to anger. She grabbed the frog and threw it against the wall. "I will not sleep with you. Go tell whoever you want, you nasty creature," she yelled as the frog hit the wall. A white mist surrounded it. When the mist cleared, the frog had vanished, replaced by a handsome prince. The prince revealed he had been cursed by a wicked witch. Because he rejected her love, she turned him into a frog. And only by being thrown against a wall could he break the curse. Grateful, the prince proposed marriage to the princess. The next day, the prince formally proposed to the king, who gladly accepted. The little princess would soon return to the prince's kingdom with him. On a morning a few days later, a grand carriage, drawn by 8 horses, arrived early at the palace gates. The horses' heads were adorned with pure white feathers that swayed gently with their movements, and they wore exquisite harnesses, decorated with gemstones. Standing beside the carriage was the prince's loyal servant, faithful Henry. When his master had been transformed into a frog, Henry was devastated with grief. Fearing that his heart would break from sorrow, he had bound his chest with 3 iron bands. Faithful Henry helped his master and the princess into the carriage before taking his seat at the front to drive. Not long after they set off, a sudden cracking sound echoed through the air, as if something had broken. The sound came again, twice more. Hearing this, the prince and princess thought the carriage had run over some stones, but in truth, it was the 3 iron bands around Faithful. Henry's chest snapping, one by one, as his heart swelled with joy at seeing his master so happy once more.
you.